How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 3.
Hello, America. Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here, 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, would absolutely love to have you. Don't forget, you can text the word Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777. Get the live stream, the podcast, the show notes, the 4 things to know this afternoon. Get it all the links right there. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me around the web. A couple of people asked me for particularly cookbook recommendations for Christmas. I will send that out probably Friday. If you're looking for gifts to get to people, I got recommendations. I'm struggling with myself, but I can send you some great ideas for those of you, particularly those of you who like to cook. And I've gotten into golf. The golf stuff, y'all. I got to get better at the game, but I sure do love it. We got to move on, though. I want to talk about the rise of disabilities. And maybe I'm a bad parent. I don't think I'm a bad parent. My son has ADHD. Now, before you're dismissive of it, because I was dismissive of it, our pediatrician recommended a number of years ago that we needed to have our son tested for ADHD. And I'm like, every kid has ADHD. And he's like, no, you're yes, but. So we took him to someone who could evaluate him. And the person who evaluated him says, this is just off the charts. Your kid needs to be on medicine. It's like, I won't say the word I said, but it has the letters BS in it. It's like, it's so easy these days. You get your kid diagnosed for ADHD, and then you get your kid on Ritalin or Adderall, or you get your kid drugged up. It's like, not my kid. And so we went back to the pediatrician. The pediatrician says, well, go get a second recommendation, but I'm telling you, you gotta deal with your kid. So we got a second recommendation. Same thing. Kid's got bad ADHD. Needs to be on something. That's why he's fallen behind in school. So here was our compromise was there is a behavioral therapist who our doctor and both of the people who tested recommended and said, go to this particular therapist. She specializes in teaching kids skills to help them with their ADHD that are non-medicated skills. So, for example, when he's doing his math homework, he bounces on a ball, one of those Swiss exercise balls. He sits on that so he can bounce, and it helps him. He listens to Mozart. He takes breaks, and we finally broke down the dire insistence of his math professor or math teacher that, you know what, when he's taking exams, let him get something to help him focus. So he doesn't take ADHD medicine except when he's got an exam, and that helps him focus. And I don't mind being personal with you all on this, and he doesn't. It's helpful. He has learned life skills with the help of a great therapist he doesn't go to anymore. Just she worked with him for a year on sit on an exercise ball and bounce your legs, move your body, and channel the focus to stuff. And he does a really good job of it. He didn't want to be on the medicines. We tried him on I guess it was Vyvanse. He did not like the way it made him feel. He didn't want to be on medicines. And we've had people tell us as well that, you know what, you can get accommodations for his ADHD. We're like, no. In the real world, in life, my son is not going to be given accommodations because he has ADHD. He needs to learn to live in the real world, and he gets it. He understands it. He appreciates it. And I sometimes do think, we could give you a competitive advantage. You are a privileged white kid from an upper income family, and we could give you a competitive advantage because you are documented and diagnosed. You could take as long as you want on the SAT, do whatever you want. And he's like, nope, my son, my 16-year-old son, who's a Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson fan, I should add, and loves the Lord, and said, nope, that's not the way it's going to work in the real world. I bring this up because The Atlantic has a piece, Accommodation Nation, America's colleges have an extra time on tests problem. Administering an exam used to be straightforward. All a college professor needed was an open room and a stack of blue books. At many American universities, that's no longer true. Professors now struggle to accommodate the many students with an official disability designation, which may entitle them to extra time, a distraction-free environment, or the use of otherwise prohibited technology. The University of Michigan has 2 centers where students with disabilities can take exams, but they frequently fill to capacity, leaving professors scrambling to find more desks and proctors. Juan Kohler, a physicist at the University of Chicago, told me that so many students now take their exams in the school's low distraction testing outposts that they've become more distracting than the main classrooms. Accommodations in higher education were supposed to help disabled Americans enjoy the same opportunities as everyone else. No one should be kept from taking a class, for example, because they are physically unable to enter the building where it's taught. Over the last decade and a half, however, the share of students at selective universities who qualify for accommodations, often extra time on tests, has grown at a breathtaking pace. At the University of Chicago, the number has more than tripled over the past 8 years. At University of California, Berkeley, it's quintupled over the past 15 years. The increase is driven by more young people getting diagnosed with conditions such as ADHD, anxiety, and depression, and by universities making the process of getting accommodations easier. The change has occurred disproportionately at the most prestigious and expensive institutions. At Brown and Harvard, more than 20% of undergraduates are registered as disabled. At Amherst, the figure's 34%. Not all those students receive accommodations, but researchers told me most do. The schools that enroll the most academically successful students, in other words, also have the largest share of students with a disability that could prevent them from succeeding academically. You hear students with disabilities, and it's not kids in wheelchairs. One professor at a selective university who requested anonymity because he doesn't have tenure told me. It's just not. It's rich kids getting extra time on tests. Even as poor kids with disabilities still struggle to get necessary provisions, elite universities have entered an age of accommodation. Instead of leveling the playing field, the system has put the entire idea of fairness at risk. There's a trend now. Nikki Haley's son, who I know, I don't know him well. I remember when he was a kid, is now venting his frustrations as a 24-year-old young man in the workforce, not of himself, but of his friends who can't get jobs, who feel left behind, who they want all the immigrants kicked out. They want all the other stuff. Listen, we have in this country reached a point where we have the Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas of the world who think that they shouldn't have pain, they shouldn't suffer, nothing in life should suck, nothing should be unfair, and they should get as much time as they want to take a test. We have gotten so comfortable as a society, we don't understand that discomfort is part of society. I actually think that's why there's that trend now of everybody sitting in the bathtubs full of ice. You got all the health and fitness gurus out there, the social media influencers. Hey, I woke up this morning and hammered a block of ice out of the bathtub so I could sit underneath it for 15 minutes and get my dopamine levels up, because no pain, no gain, right? You have this entire trend on social media now of people get out of your comfort zone, get a little uncomfortable. Why? Because we got these 20-somethings saying, oh my gosh, I can't get a 6-figure salary 1 year out of college. And mommy and daddy have carted me off to get diagnosed so I can get extra time on my test so I can get a scholarship so they don't have to pay for college at the elite institution. We are fostering a nation of losers. Entitled, spoiled brats. Y'all, I'm sorry. I listen, you spare me your sob story because I'll give you mine, and mine sucks. I had some young 20-something come after me the other day. All we're saying is it should keep getting better. Yes, and it has. You just don't appreciate that it's gotten better because you think by getting better it means you shouldn't have to make sacrifice. You've got to make sacrifice in life. It's insane to me. And I'm very mindful. I could do this for my son. He's had 2 separate diagnoses for ADHD. He could take as much time as he wants on the standardized test. And I'm like, that's not the real world. That's going to set you up for failure later in life. And look at these kids coming out of college now. They've been given every accommodation in college. They come out, they're like, that's not fair. I demand 6 figures. I demand a 5-bedroom house and an acre of land and 2 ovens. And forgiveness of all of my debts and a handout from the government to get started. Screw the immigrant, give it to me. The immigrant's not claiming disability. That's why he's getting the job. Oh, my gosh. We have a land of plenty, and people have had a plenty good run of it. They don't know hard times. And they think any hard time is unfair. You cannot have good times without hard times. Because the hard times set the standard by which you can judge whether your time is good or not. I love, there's that period in the year. You all know it. There's a slight chill in the air. You don't have to have the heat or the air conditioner on in your house. You can open the windows and let the fresh air in. And you're comfortable. You're not cold enough for a blanket. You're not warm enough to have to put on shorts or turn the air conditioner on. You can go outside. It's still light late in the evening. It's just life is good. And I think I'd like to have that every single day of the year. But if I did, if you did, if we did, that would no longer set the standard of this is a good day. It'd just be an ordinary day. Go out to California. That's part of my theory for some of these places. You go out to California, there's some beautiful land out there and beautiful weather. The beautiful mild temperatures in parts of that state, the gorgeous scenery, and it's polluted with hippies and homelessness, drug addicts and the like. And that's just, they've taken what should be utopia and they've ruined it because it's become ordinary for them. I go out there and I think, this is gorgeous. They go out there and this is just another day in paradise. We are ruining our kids with these accommodations. Life does not accommodate you. You must accommodate life. And it is the upper income white kids who are the ones having and I don't think it's a coincidence that they're the ones clamoring for socialism. They don't like that life is not fair. Y'all, life is life. It is not meant to be fair. It is just life. And you go through it and you have ups and you have downs and you have peaks and you have valleys. That is the way it works. And yet we have predisposed kids in life to think, I can get an accommodation for this. This sucks. I want an accommodation. Life does not give you an accommodation. You accommodate life. And we've forgotten that. And our kids need to learn that lesson. And I'm glad I really, y'all, I have friends of mine whose kids just went off the reservation. I've been really blessed with 2 kids. There's still time for it to happen. I pray it doesn't. But just having kids with level heads, they may not be the wealthiest, they may not be the brightest, but they're good kids They love the Lord. They got a good head on their shoulders, and they understand life isn't meant to be fair. It's not meant to be unfair. It's just life. And you got to accommodate it instead of it accommodating you. And if you're a parent, please make sure your kids understand this entitlement mentality of just, I want accommodation. I've got ADHD. Give me 5 hours to take the 20-minute test. You're setting yourself up for failure when you do that in life. Guys, if you struggle to come up with gifts for family members, I got a suggestion for you, the Cove Pure. I love mine. I wasn't sure I would like it as much as I do, and I really, really, really do. What is a Cove Pure? Well, it's an water filtration system. It's on the countertop. You can get cold water. You can get hot water. It even has a bottle button, so you can get the warm bottle perfect for formula for your baby at night. It's really easy. It's so convenient. I use it all the time in my office. You will love it. It sits on the countertop. It uses reverse osmosis. It gets rid of like pharmaceuticals, fluoride, lead, arsenic. It's the purest water you can get. It tastes fantastic. If you're looking for a great gift for your loved ones or for yourself that they're actually going to use the Cove Pure. I partnered with them. They're giving you a $250 holiday discount with my link, covepure.com/Eric. That's COVEPURE.com/Eric, ERICK. You get $250 off, covepure.com/Eric. The sale is going to end, so take advantage of this $250 holiday discount, covepure.com/Eric. Welcome back. It is Eric Erickson here. To the phones we go. Lee, you're up next. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, did you?
Lee?
Yes. Thank
Hi
you.
there.
I did not hear the Lee there.
Oh, sorry.
I am good. Yes. So thank you for taking my call. First time calling in and actually talking on the show. But the accommodations thing is real. And I have a child that's at a premier law school in Georgia, going to the SEC this weekend, so y'all can guess which law school it is. But, yeah, started, law school, and everybody was in the room taking the test that first semester. Did very well, was very excited. But by the time the second semester came around, there was a significant number of students that weren't in the room anymore. And as the years have gone on, it's way more. And so that is real. And it's not fair. I mean, this child puts everything that he or she has into it.
And didn't want to go to the doctor and get a
unreal.
diagnosis. Yeah, so didn't get the diagnosis, therefore doesn't get the accommodation. And so I tell my kids this, and I think that the same thing goes for yours. That at some point they're going to be called the boss. Because they went through this, they get into the courtroom as a lawyer, and the judge is not going to accommodate your ADHD, and neither is the jury. Thanks for the phone call. It's a great point. The judge and the jury aren't going to accommodate your disability of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and so you better learn to deal with it. You're going to wind up being the employer if you just suck it up and go through life without trying to seek that advantage. All right, I got to move on. Let me tell you, Eden Pure and the Thunderstorm, it's an air purifier. You hold it in your hand. It is small. It's portable. You can plug it into the wall or a USB cord. It gets rid of dust. It gets rid of pollen. It gets rid of 99.9% of bacteria and viruses. And it also eliminates odors, all odors. You can get 3 of them. Listen to this. These ones, unique stocking stuffer. You got a messy, smelly kid who lives in a dorm or something? Well, you get 3 of them. For less than $200, you save $200. EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is ERIC3, ERICK, the number 3, no space, ERIC3 at EdenPureDeals.com. The Eden Pure Thunderstorm wipes out all odors. Any smelly odor is going to wipe it out. It generates ozone. And so whenever you get the odors, you plug it in, you wipe out the odors, you unplug it. It eliminates those odors. It gets rid of bacteria and viruses. It just does great. EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is ERIC3, ERICK3. In business, they say you can have better, cheaper, or faster, but you can only pick 2. What if you could have all three at the same time? That's exactly what Cohere, Thomson Reuters, and Specialized Bikes have since they've upgraded to the next generation of the cloud. Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. OCI is the blazing fast platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs, where you can run any workload in a high availability, consistently high performance environment and spend less than you would with other clouds. How's it faster? OCI's block storage gives you more operations per second. Cheaper? OCI costs up to 50% less for compute, 70% less for storage, and 80% less for networking. Better? In test after test, OCI customers report lower latency and higher bandwidth versus other clouds. This is the cloud built for AI and for all your biggest workloads. Right now, with zero commitment, try OCI for free. Head to oracle.com/Erickson, ERICKSON. That's oracle.com/Erickson. Hello and welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number 877-973-7425. Delighted to have you guys with me. I have no comment on Lane Kiffin. Go Tigers. Let's go to the phones. John, welcome to the show. John, how are you?
Doing quite good. Good afternoon. Okay, I have an idea for a good presidential reset. What we need is either Clarence Thomas or Samuel Alito to announce their retirement, preferably late spring or early summer. And then Donald Trump can appoint a Hispanic woman or just a woman to the Supreme Court, and then we'll have hearings next summer. And I think that'd be a very good lead-in to the midterms and maybe get some of the Hispanics and the women back into a different perception of Donald Trump. So, Mr. Thomas or Alito, if you're listening, it might be time to take one for the team.
Listen, behold the healing power of and, John. Listen, they need to retire, and I say that lovingly. I have great respect for both men. Clarence Thomas has been there since Bush 41. It's time for them to retire. We don't need a Ruth Bader Ginsburg moment. It's time to take one for the team, and I believe we're going to get one or both of them. Let me see here. Just so we get how old is Clarence Thomas? 77. Sam Alito is 75. We just don't want to get in a situation where these gentlemen get to a point where you got a Democrat in the White House or a Democrat-controlled Senate, and the Democrats said, "No, we're going to have an election before we're just going to leave the seat vacant." That'd be bad. That would be very bad. It is my expectation that Clarence Thomas will retire next year. I have no inside knowledge. I just know that Clarence Thomas cares deeply about the preservation of his legacy on the Supreme Court. And if he risks waiting, it could be bad. Maybe he'll run the calculation that the GOP is going to maintain the Senate and he'll push it off another year or two, which is possible. But if the Democrats take back the Senate, then Clarence Thomas steps aside. They're going to use the Merrick Garland precedent, and they're not going to confirm anyone. And I do think it's a great way for Trump to lead and have 4 or 5 members of the Supreme Court. Think about this. Potentially, Donald Trump could have the majority in a 5-4 Supreme Court, 5 of them be appointed by him. Now, I have some concerns in that the president has turned hostile towards the Federalist Society, and that's where the best picks come from. And there are a bunch of grifters around him who have convinced him, poisoned him on the idea of the Federalist Society. And I think that's a terrible idea. Leonard Leo actually is vastly, greatly committed to the long-term conservative bent of the Supreme Court, and where conservatism is not transactionally what Donald Trump wants, but actually conservatism. And we need a Supreme Court that is like that. Now, related to all of this, actually, there's a very interesting piece out from the Manhattan Institute. It's a survey of Americans overall and the Republican coalition. So just so you know where I am, I want to foundationally, because my presuppositions come into everything I talk about, and I think I'm right on this. This data suggests I'm right on this. I have had this thinking for a while. Donald Trump is a unique force in American politics. Those people come along every once in a while, and they themselves hold coalitions together. If you study populist movements anywhere on planet Earth, study a populist movement, and I'm gonna dive in here a little bit in ways some people would dispute, but just hear me out on this. I'm not talking about populist parties per se, but populist figures, and they can be among Democrats, they can be among Republicans, they can be among the Labor Party, the Tory Party, the Communist Party, the Nazi Party, the Fascist Party, the Green Party. It doesn't matter. Parties, you see populist movements rise, and most often what the populist does is he takes control of a existing party if he can't build his own, and what happens is the populist movement does not survive much past the life or legacy of that individual. So when that individual is term limited and steps aside, his coalition within the populist movement begins to fracture. If he is not term limited, he is term limited by God Almighty himself and dies, the movement begins to split. For those of you who are students of American politics, you might know Huey Long. He galvanized a populist movement in Louisiana in the 1930s, 40s. He was ultimately assassinated. The Democratic Party had a stronghold in Louisiana, and that stronghold began to collapse. You started getting Republicans elected statewide in Louisiana once you got through Huey Long. Now, Earl Long came along and tried to prop it up. Russell Long came along, the Long family. They tried to prop it up, but it began to fracture with the death of Huey Long. And within the Democratic Party, the coalition shifted, and you started getting people who were not nearly as charismatic or populist as Huey Long taking over the Democratic Party. In Georgia, you had Zell Miller. The Democrats in Georgia started getting sclerotic. They were out of ideas. They were socially conservative. A lot of them were becoming Republicans, and Zell Miller came along, the governor of Georgia, and was a great populist governor. He would pick 80-20, 85-15 issues. The Republicans actually liked him. Republican voters supported him. Zell Miller left, actually went to the U.S. Senate, and what happened? The Democratic Party collapsed. Roy Barnes, a good man. He actually is a good man. But he was more traditional Democrat. He couldn't hold together the populist coalition of Democrats that Zell Miller built. And next thing you know, Georgia becomes Republican. This happens historically, that the leader of the populist movement, once he goes away, the populist movement divides. Donald Trump is a uniquely charismatic populist figure. He's like a Huey Long. When he goes away, his movement is going to crack up. He is laying hands on J.D. Vance to continue it, and J.D. is a shrewd politician. He's a smart guy, but he's not Donald Trump. And I think he'll have a coalition. I just don't think it'll be all of Trump's coalition. I say all of that as I get into this. A new national survey conducted by the Manhattan Institute examines today's Republican Party and the coalition assembled by Donald Trump in 2024. It is one of the most exhaustive studies to date of the emerging multi-ethnic working-class GOP. Nearly 3,000 voters, including large oversamples of Black and Hispanic Republicans and or 2024 Trump voters, were asked about a wide range of policy issues as well as identity politics, populism, conspiracy theories, anti-Semitism, and other forms of racial bias. The findings point to a coalition that is divided into two broad segments. The majority segment, long-standing Republicans who have backed the party for many years, are consistently conservative on economic, foreign policy, and social ideas. They favor lower taxes, take a hawkish view on China, remain firmly pro-Israel, and are highly skeptical of progressive agendas on transgender and DEI issues. But a sizable minority, new entrants to the GOP coalition over the past two presidential cycles, look markedly different. Younger, more racially diverse, and more likely to have voted for Democratic candidates in the recent past, this group diverges sharply from the party's core. They're more likely, often substantially more likely, to hold progressive views across nearly every major policy domain. They're more supportive of left-leaning economic policies, more favorable towards China, more critical of Israel, and more liberal on issues ranging from migration to DEI initiatives. A significant share report openly racist or anti-Semitic views and express potential support for political violence, yet they overwhelmingly identify as Republican today. They voted for Donald Trump in 2024. The core Republicans, those of 2024 Trump voters, regardless of party registration, and all registered Republicans, including those who didn't vote for Trump, are kind of the current GOP. To understand the structure here of where we are now, you've got the core Republicans make up about 65% of the coalition. New entrants make up 29%. Now, this is something that I've been telling you guys since Donald Trump came on the scene in 2015, is a lot of the people who started voting for Donald Trump came into the party because of Donald Trump. I always get it makes me laugh when people are like, "You rhino, you're nothing but you're not even a conservative. You don't support Trump." I'm like, I was a conservative before Trump. I'll be a conservative after Trump. I was an elected Republican before Trump. I won't be an elected Republican after Trump. I never want to run for office again, but I'll still be around. And a lot of these people, they came in and they embraced the ideology and the ideas of being a conservative. Well, not the ideas, the labels, I guess I should say. They embraced the labels, but they defined it as, I support Donald Trump, therefore I am a conservative. And when Donald Trump goes, where will they go? I don't know, but I don't think they'll stay within a coalition of traditional Republicans. The survey's first major finding is that the overwhelming majority of the current Republican Party rejects racism, anti-Semitism, and conspiratorial thinking, but a meaningful minority, 17%, meets our definition of anti-Jewish Republicans. A respondent falls into this category if they self-identify as both racist and anti-Semitic and express Holocaust denial or describe Israel as a colonial state, or they do not self-identify that way but nevertheless hold both of those extreme views. Anti-Jewish Republicans are typically younger, disproportionately male, more likely to be college educated, and significantly more likely to be new entrants into the coalition. They are also more racially diverse. Consistent church attendance is one of the strongest predictors of rejecting these attitudes. Infrequent church attendance is, all else equal, one of the strongest predictors of falling into this segment. Crucially, these views are not unique to Republicans. You got that? That's an important component of this. The people within the Republican coalition who are least likely to be anti-Semitic and racist are the ones who attend church regularly. Among this pool of new entrants, only 56% said they definitely support a Republican in 2026. 70% of the core GOP does. It's a very interesting dynamic and a very interesting report. The picture that emerges is one of a Republican Party with a solid, cohesive core and a younger, ideologically unstable outer ring, a coalition that is broader than any Republican coalition in recent memory, but also more internally contradictory and harder to manage. Understanding which voters are likely to stay, which can be integrated into a durable coalition, and which may drift away will be central to the strategic future of the GOP. If you want to understand the decisions being made at places like the Heritage Foundation and other places, the position statements of people like J.D. Vance and others, it's about these new entrants. How do we bring them into the coalition? And I don't know. I don't want to be in a party filled with anti-Semites and racists. Who does, other than the anti-Semites and racists? It's going to be interesting to see how this needle is threaded by Republicans over time without Donald Trump on the scene. And that is an important closing point on this. Despite the fretting, fears, worries, and complaints of the left, Donald Trump is term limited. He will be going away. There have been a great many people who have poured a lot of energy into the idea that he wants to be a totalitarian tyrant who never goes away. The Constitution of the United States of America is stronger than any one man, including Donald Trump. Always has been. All the worries, fears, and anxieties of the people who insist he'll never leave office, are going to have to grapple with life after Donald Trump. So many of them have been able to define themselves in opposition to him. What will they define themselves in opposition of next? There have been a lot of people within the Republican Party who define themselves as Trump voters, as MAGA, as only Trump. They're not Republicans. They'll have to find someone new to latch onto. The Republican Party itself will have to figure out how to proceed as this coalition begins to crack up. But the Democratic Party has also an equally unstable coalition. A lot of upper-income white people jumped into the Democratic Party because they didn't want to be in the party of Donald Trump. Where will they go? Because a lot of them, now they've got a lot of upper-income secular whites who don't go to church, who have fully embraced being woke and the progressive values, but some of them haven't. We're in a political realignment. I've been telling you guys for a number of years we've been in a political realignment. We're watching it happen in real time. And it will reshape and reshuffle when Donald Trump exits the stage at the end of his presidency. All of this is to say we got a lot of unstable territory right now. If you feel out of sorts, unstable, or maybe out of place, like you have no party, this is what's going on right now. You haven't lost your mind or your bearings. It's a politically unstable time. The one thing you can't lose during all of it is your soul and your faith in your country. We're going to get through it together. It's just fascinating dynamics watching these political currents shift. I was scrolling the series of tubes known as the interwebs during commercial break, seeing the ratings from the Cowboys-Chiefs game and the Bengals game, and just massive, massive numbers. More Americans watch NFL games in a week than they watch anything else. And this has been regularly consistent. That game, the Cowboys-Chiefs on Thanksgiving, by the way, 57.2 million viewers on CBS, the highest ever viewership for a regular season NFL game. It's wild. I'm watching the Chiefs this year. I've always had a soft spot for the Chiefs. The issue is not the Chiefs or the Cowboys. It's the viewership, 57.2 million viewers on CBS. People are tired of politics. People are actually exhausted by politics right now in this country. They're tuning into football. Notice that the decline in the NBA as the NBA got more and more political and it became all about individuals and their ability to throw three-pointers and not play as a team. It tuned out. Baseball still gets largely good ratings, but college football and the NFL, for what, 4 or 5 months a year, Americans get to get around the TV on a few days a week and watch something where there is no political commentary, no political message. And in fact, the malcontents among us try to make it political. They try to scream about it. In the NFL and Roger Goodell, they put the little messages on the helmets and stuff. Nobody cares about that. They want to watch the game. They don't care about the political messaging. They don't get lectured about politics. It is people. It's not us versus them. It's Cowboys versus Chiefs. It's Eagles versus whoever. It's whatever team. And people get a break from politics. The ratings for the NFL just they signal in my mind people are exhausted by politics. They just want to enjoy something in life, a sporting activity, without getting lectured about politics. We should all keep that in mind. Now, if you want to get involved in politics in the country and you want to engage, join Americans for Prosperity. I'm on their board of advisors. Around the country, they advance common sense conservative reforms to advance freedom for families and small businesses. What you can do is go to afpvolunteer.com and sign up with Americans for Prosperity. They're a great organization. They make a difference in all 50 states, advancing free market legislation, common sense, conservative reforms like school choice, parental rights legislation, deregulation for small businesses, permitting reform for energy explorers. They help pass the president's tax cut, mobilize an army of activists to pressure people to vote for it. Americans for Prosperity can be found at afpvolunteer.com. You can sign up in your state, get involved down to the local level, advancing freedom in your community. afpvolunteer.com. Sign up with Americans for Prosperity today.